A word for our listeners. Achtung Cthulhu is set in the 1930s and 40s. We will be using terms and sayings from those times, including some that could be considered offensive. It is not our intention to offend. We merely wish to offer as accurate a view of the time period as possible. Welcome to Masks of Nyarlathotep, a Nerd's Domain gaming podcast. Join us each week as our investigators uncover the corruption of the mythos in World War II. Starring George Chimples, Phil Durham, Rob Walker, Justin Kimmett, Shirley Nedzwicki, and Scott Troiano, with Matt Quiet running the table as the keeper. Eldritch evils and crazed Nazi cultists await you just beyond this music.
Hi everybody, and welcome back to Masks of Nyarlathotep. This is the first creation session for Achtung Cthulhu, and I'm here with George Chimples.
Hello.
George, you previously played Courtney Hathaway-Weld and Machin Cho.
That is correct.
Yeah. So I was trying to think if you had any other characters. I don't think you did. It was just those two. So we're going to be working on your Achtung Cthulhu character. Achtung is a World War II setting. So you're playing a Spaniard.
Yes.
Named Carlos
Aguirre Aznar.
And so why don't you tell us a little about your character and what you've done with him and what you have envisioned for him for a backstory and whatnot.
Sure. I was interested in having my character come from Spain because Spain was, part of the Spanish Civil War, as one might imagine from the name, and which was really kind of this weird proxy war between the forces of fascism and everyone else in the guise of the Spanish Republicans, which had a wide coalition of communists, anarchists, Democrats, all sorts of different types of people, versus the nationalists who were led by Francisco Franco and backed very, very strongly by Germany and Italy, and who ended up winning and ruling Spain through the 1970s. And so I find that a fascinating time. And it was also a time when the Germans sent over an air force, they sent over some tank divisions, and got a lot of practice for the blitzkrieg techniques that they would use so devastatingly in 1940 when the war really began in earnest. So I wanted a character who'd kind of started out fighting the Germans and been on the Republican side and has a great deal of hatred for them, but also is a guy who's lost his country, he's lost his family. And in terms of what function he served with the Republican, I want him to be a military character. So he served with the Republican Spanish forces as a pilot, as a fighter pilot.
Well, that's a clear distinction because in the system, in Achtung, in the setting, there are military characters, there are espionage characters, and there are straight civilians.
Yeah, and there's also, they cut the distinction between bomber pilots and fighter pilots, and which is very crunchy because in real life, it's not like in Pearl Harbor, the movie, where these fighter pilots all of a sudden are flying bombers against Japan. It's flying single-engined aircraft, double-engined aircraft, four-engined aircraft. There's very different skills and techniques involved with that. So I like that they have that distinction in classifications. So
your character will be at the start of the game in the United States, having left Spain. You want to tell us a little bit about that transition?
Yeah. I believe the game starts at 1938, and at that point, the Spanish Civil War is kind of winding down. Most of the country it's still ongoing, but most of the country belongs to the nationalists. The big holdouts in the north in Barcelona and elsewhere have fallen at that point. And so my character, the war is still ongoing, but he understands it's lost. He's lost a lot during the course of the war, including friends and family. And for him, he sees the writing on the wall, and he leaves Spain a very angry man, but still determined to fight fascism wherever he can. And so he ends up in the United States as someone who's got combat piloting experience, so he can be a civilian consultant to the Army Air Corps, kind of helping them develop dogfighting tactics. And I also want to have some of a mechanical background, so he's helping with tweaking engines and that sort of stuff. But he's also very heavily involved in anti-fascist efforts and kind of kicking against the American isolationist viewpoint that was very present in Washington in 1938, and kind of, illuminating people to the dangers of fascism and the Germans, especially.
Okay. So we'll get into doing your character creation. We'll talk through kind of the skills that should or shouldn't exist, or you should or shouldn't have as we go through that. And, it'll be character creation kind of like we did last time, almost exactly like we did last time, with some added stuff for Octung. So you want to roll your 3d6 for your 5 stats there. This is for strength, con, power, dex, and appearance, and you'll be able to move some stuff around. So keep that in mind.
All right, so that's a 9, 10, an 11.
Could go for 12.
Yeah, let's see. Nope, an 8. And another 9.
Okay. And then roll 2d6 plus 6 twice. So 16, and then the other one, 13. And then one more time, roll 3d6 plus 3.
It's 13.
Okay. So the first 5 are your strength, con, power, dex, and appearance. You're going to get to move some stuff around, so just go ahead and write those in there real lightly, and then we'll deal with that.
Yeah. You said strength, con, size, dex, appearance?
Strength, con, power, dex, appearance. And then the 16 and the 13 are your size and your intelligence. And then the last one is your education. Okay, so before we do anything else, 3 times you can move up to 3 points from one stat to another, if you want to do that.
Okay.
So this would be a good time. Like your dex, I think your dex should be high. That makes the most sense for me, but you can do whatever you want.
So moving, my size right now is 13, which pilot shouldn't be too big actually. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to make size 10. Give 3 to dex, so that's a 14.
Mm-hmm.
I like high intelligence is good, education's good.
Your power might need to be should be a little high.
Yeah.
I think that's the only other thing that I would think. I mean, you can be an ugly pilot; nobody cares.
No, I think his physical stats are pretty bad, like strength, con, and appearance. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to have it be he's a guy who's been shot down and probably gotten a little burned up.
Yeah.
He's not a good-looking guy. And it's not important for him to look good either. He probably doesn't take good care of himself visually. So I'm going to take a point from strength. So strength is going to be 8. Give that to power. And also one from appearance, and give that to power as well. So his power will be 12, and his appearance is going to be a 7.
Okay. And then you could do it again, right?
I did. That's 3.
That was 3. Okay. So the next step is take your power and multiply it by 5, and that's your sanity.
I think I rolled below average on like all of the base 5.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the 10 and 11 are kind of average-ish.
Yeah.
But the 9s and 8s are Ian Byrne.
Yeah. Not great. So what am I doing now?
You want to take sanity or power, multiply by 5. That's your sanity. What's your power?
It's going to be my sanity is going to be 60.
Okay. And then circle your 60 and so on and so forth.
Idea is intelligence by 5, right?
Yeah. Idea is intelligence times 5.
Luck is 60.
Luck is power times 5, and then education or knowledge is education times 5.
So I've got an idea of 80, a luck of 60, and a knowledge of 65. And then let's see what my damage bonus is. It's either going to be none or nothing.
It's none. Well, I don't know. It might be a -4. What's your strength and size added together?
18.
18. It's a 0.
Okay.
If it had been 2 lower, it'd been a negative D4.
And it's Constitution and Strength divided by 2. That gets you your hit points.
But we're gonna flub that up a little bit and add 5 to that in the end. So
Okay. So my hit points would be 9, which is pretty bad.
But then plus 5 puts it at 14.
Yeah, so I can at least survive getting shot once.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to do with that is make it a little pulpy, but still dangerous.
Yeah.
We did all those things. We did your damage bonus. We're going to give you a point of Cthulhu Mythos, just the one.
Okay.
You have experienced it. You're just not aware of it yet.
Yes.
So you're going to actually be at 99 minus 1, which puts you at 98 as your max sanity, which won't matter right now. Then you did your hit points. Did you do your magic points? That's just your POW straight across?
Yes.
Okay. And then you did your sanity. You did all that. Now we need to go into occupation. Now I believe occupation's on...
The pilot occupation starts on page 73.
I don't remember if there were requirements in this or not.
Yes.
So your education is 13 or greater, right?
Yes.
Your con is actually a little low.
Right.
What's your con at?
9. But we are in the character history
Yeah.
portraying him as injured, so he would have had better con for
and we can waive that. That's not a big deal. You will have to have completed parachute training. So are you in the Spanish Civil War, were you considered an officer?
That's an interesting question because they had kind of a non-standard military, and so in the Spanish Civil War it was such a weird conglomeration of units and interests on the Republican side. I feel like for the Air Force, it was a little bit more regimented being an Air Force. It wasn't just ad hoc militia units.
You said at one point when we were talking before we started recording that you felt like you were an ace. So did you lead your flight group?
He could have at a certain point, yeah. Okay. And their flight group would have been fairly small at that point.
And so you're going to be training... The idea was that you would be in the States training pilots. So let's say that you're going to be given the equivalent. They'll treat you as you're the equivalent of a lieutenant. So you have... you're an officer, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But I don't think it really matters for what we're doing here. So you might just note that you have the equivalent of a lieutenant. That might come up later. So you get the common skills here, which is electrical repair, fieldcraft, mechanical repair, meteorology, navigate, parachute, pilot single prop, and radio operator, whatever. And then you also get heavy weapons, spot hidden, and tactics. You would not get pilot jet engine because it wouldn't make sense at this point.
No.
But let's talk about fieldcraft because I forget where fieldcraft is, but that's why we have stuff at the back of the book that'll tell us for what page it's on. Wow.
It's on 89.
We don't have pages at the back of the book that do what I ask. So fieldcraft is something new specifically for this. This is military characters only, which you get that. Fieldcraft skill replaces conceal, hide, and sneak for military characters.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of those that do that, and I really like that one. I can't think of the other one. Close combat, I think, is one that also does something similar. Basically meaning that you can fight with a bayonet without having to use your knife skill. So it suggests that we roll a bonus thing here, where we do a thing and we do a thing. We're just going to decide on a number.
Okay. Yeah, because it's like there's more expanded character creation rules here than in the usual Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah. So basically what it says here is if you're a fighter pilot, you're going to make a pilot check after you fill in your pilot. We're not going to do this, but I want to walk through it a little bit. If your roll is a special, which means that you would roll 1/5 of your skill, which I'm assuming since you're the pilot, you'd have it pretty decently high. You'd roll a d6 to see how many kills you got. If it's a critical, which is a 0-1 through a 0-5, you'd roll a d20 to determine the number of kills. Any result of 5 or more means that you are an ace with that many kills to your name. we've already talked about at least one of your kills. We'll assume that there's a couple others.
Yeah.
But I definitely want you to have that ace status, which is why you were a good asset for the U.S. military.
Yeah. And so I could see, like, how about 9?
Okay.
That sound well?
Yeah.
And then he's also been shot down a couple times. Because there's a thing in here, if you fail, you've also been shot down or crashed. I don't really like having randomness as a part of character creation, aside from the rolls, because it's an oddity to me.
Yeah, yeah. I'd say yeah, you're shot down a couple of times, but that's not necessarily the end of a pilot.
No, and I mean, some of the best pilots in the war were shot down multiple times, lost limbs. There was at least 2 aces. There was a British one who had no legs, and there was a German one who was the most decorated German of the war who was missing a leg. Crazy stories.
Yeah.
And especially the planes they were flying during the Spanish Civil War weren't so high octane that if you crashed, you were going at speeds that were inescapable. Like, you could crash land and survive. You could parachute and survive.
I would like to see your parachute decently high, not terribly high, but enough that makes sense.
Yeah.
Another thing that I would like you to do is, and I know you will, between now and the first game, kind of decide what your scars and kind of physical attributes will look like.
Yeah.
What's your education? Or do you already
13.
You already have an age. Okay, good. I was going to say your minimum age is 19 according to the book, but I don't really care about that. It's not super important. Okay. So yeah, just you got that list of character. You've got that list of skills that you've got for your class or for your occupation.
Right.
So you're going to take your education and multiply it by 20. Yep. And you allot those points to those skills. And picking up pistol or something might make a little bit of sense as well.
Yeah. So I've got giving myself a single engine rating of 86, mechanical repair of 80, still got 115 left. For parachute, I'll do 61 rather, which gives me 55 left. I should have a good spot hidden. I'm not going to throw much into radio operator because their aircraft probably weren't equipped with very good radios.
Okay.
Like early in the war, that was definitely the case.
So we said that your minimum con was what, 14? Or you needed a minimum of con of 14 to be a pilot?
Yeah.
So we'll assume 14, and I'll need you to roll a percentage, if you don't mind.
Certainly.
And you're looking for low numbers.
Under what?
It just depends on what you rolled.
64.
So that's... divide that by 14.
You say 65 divided by 14? What am I looking at?
Yeah, no, you're right. It's 5. So roll a d2. 2.
2?
So your con goes up by 2. Which means
great.
your hit points will then go up by 1.
Is that going through basic?
Yeah, it essentially... that you were in poor physical shape when you joined, but the military has made a man out of you.
Cool.
So you'll get a d6 to... You would have been in the Air Force. You'll get 2d6 to Fieldcraft for free.
All right. Sweet. That's 11.
Nice to roll better than your stats.
Yeah.
So you'll get an extra 11 there. You'll get 2d6 to Tactics. 8. A d6 to First Aid. And a d6 to Rifle. And then we'll assume that you were an officer. That's what we talked about. So we'll go through that here in a second.
So I've totaled up all my points for my education.
Okay. Oh, so you're done with your education then?
Yeah.
Okay. So why don't you go ahead and roll 2d6 and add it to command.
It's 9.
1d6 to credit rating.
1.
Well, you are a poor Spaniard. A d6 to military doctrine.
It's 3.
A d6 to tactics.
It's 1.
And a handgun.
2.
And then roll a percentage if you would.
33.
What's your power? It's 14?
Mm-hmm.
So that's times 3. You haven't received any specific decorations, but you've been mentioned several times in dispatches.
Okay.
So you're not like decorated, but you're well known.
Yeah.
Those were the tables for those things.
Cool.
That was interesting. I will enjoy that again later. So then you take your intelligence times 10, and you'll assign those points to wherever you want to put them.
All right, so that's 160. So I'm going to add to my handgun 40 points. Going to add 50 to machine gun.
Now, that's not straight feet machine gun is not what you got for your class skill. That was heavy machinery machine gun. Did you get that?
Heavy weapons machine gun? What's the difference?
The heavy weapons is going to be in banked stuff. It's not a carryable machine gun. It'll be something that has to be on a tripod. If that makes sense.
Oh, for real? That's a bummer.
Yeah. Since it was on the plane.
Yeah, I got it. I was hoping that it would carry over to like light machine guns and Browning automatic rifles and such. Well, that changes things.
And then would you have been special trained at all? Beyond just the pilots?
What do you mean?
Like for parachute training. You have to finish that. Never mind. Okay.
Yeah, parachute training I think is the only one of the special ones that I would have done.
Wow, you will roll 5d6 for jump and 5d6 for parachute.
So for jump, that's 12, 17,
22.
22.
Okay.
So I could add it to jump.
To jump, yeah. Hey, so you're already not going down the road of weld.
Yeah.
That first jump roll is going to screw you.
How much did I say it was? 22?
22, yeah. And then you'll roll again 5d6. I'm probably derailing you from what you were doing. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. That's 15.
Yep. You will also get your jump wings.
Cool.
Which means you're probably certified to instruct on that kind of stuff as well. So we mentioned military I'm going to go through a couple of skills while you're doing this to kind of talk about what they do. The first one was close combat, close combat we talked about a little bit. Combat engineer, which is not something you get, is about understanding structural integrity of buildings and how to demolish it. Command is your ability to command NPCs. Comptography is all about computers. Cryptography is going to be all about codes. Damage control is about putting out fires, which I think you got a little bit of damage control, not a ton.
Yeah, 15%.
Which, hey, that's not terrible. Diving is diving. Drive tracked is driving tracked things. Espionage is something is learning about surveillance and counter surveillance and using it. Folklore is kind of nice because instead of it just being occult and folklore kind of fell in that, or natural history, now it's got its own kind of deal. Forensics is exactly what it sounds like. Same thing with forgery. Institutional lore would tell you more specifically about institutions. Meteorology. Military doctrine lets you acknowledge and notice rank and who's in charge just by looking at uniforms, and I think you have a little bit of that too as well.
A bit, yes.
Parachute's going to be good. Parachuting's really important, or you get hurt a lot from not parachuting well.
Here's something interesting I've just noticed.
Sure.
Is because I wanted my guy to have a little bit of engineering background.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's mechanical repair and jury rig, which were both interesting, and they can kind of be used together. But then there's also aeronautical systems.
Mm-hmm. I didn't see that one. But no, it's the first one. It provides an understanding of the principles of flight systems and aircraft design, as well as the ability to operate, repair, and modify them. Might make sense for you.
Yeah, my question then is, I've got a lot. One of the things that's frustrating sometimes about Call of Cthulhu is if you specialize, like certain things you can specialize in with one skill, but certain things you need to kind of split up over several. So like in the previous one, rather than having that nice kind of like melee combat thing you had, if you did martial arts, you'd be really good at martial arts and really good at fist and kick.
Yeah.
So
in this particular case, it might be better for mechanical repair.
Yeah.
I'll still let you use it for aeronautical stuff. This would be more of a, can we build... We have some of the parts for a plane. Can we build a plane? That's going to be harder without aeronautical systems. Because
I'm envisioning him as a guy who's tweaked his aircraft engine, and he can do field repairs because they were operating in an environment where he kind of had to catch as catch can, as opposed to some guy who's in the bureau designing stuff, but I still want him to have some idea.
Yeah. I would put that under mechanical repair or jury rig.
Okay.
Either one.
I've got both up pretty high.
Okay. Radio operator is more about catching other people's other people's radio stuff. So actually, radio operator would make sense for later in the war when radar and that kind of stuff, when you have higher tech.
Yeah.
Rifle grenade is something new. Sabotage. You can disable vehicles without explosives with sabotage. Ski is new. You have ski now. And scrounge. And spotter. Which actually spotter is kind of important for boat things. Tactics is now a new one. It allows you to look at a battle and see, kind of figure out what's going on down there. I would suggest putting some points into teach if you have any.
I have very little to spare.
Okay, that's fine.
Unfortunately.
Just means you're not the greatest teacher.
Yeah.
But you still have the knowledge, so...
Well, here's a problem that I'm going to have now that I'm looking at it, is I've got to be able to speak in English. And I don't have very many points to spend in it, and I still don't have some points in things that I would like.
Go ahead and just give yourself a free, we'll call it 40% in English. You're not going to be great. You're going to have concepts explained to you that are higher end. I'd also say that you probably know like 10% German, enough to curse at them and ridicule them.
What about Russian?
Probably, we'll say 25% of that.
Okay.
Enough to get a little bit of communication through.
Because there would have been Russian pilots flying alongside of him, delivering the planes and that sort of stuff.
And you probably, what's your Spanish at 65?
Yeah.
You know enough Spanish to passably speak Portuguese, because they're close. And you probably know enough Spanish to badly speak French. Because, again, they're kind of close.
And my guy is his name's, he's historic, I haven't brought this up, but he's from the Basque region, which kind of neighbors France.
Okay.
So there's a lot of cultural crossover there. The Basques are kind of like a thing to themselves.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so... got
about 20 points. I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to throw them. Probably navigate.
What's your tactics at?
10.
Navigate probably is a better call.
Yeah, so right now what he's really good at is flying, seeing things, parachuting, jury-rigging, and mechanical repair. I think I might bring the mechanical repair down a little bit so I can get some more points, because I'm squeezed pretty tightly here.
How are you feeling about it? Not great?
There's always so many different things you can do. He's not very... I always like having stuff in occults and history and some of that stuff. Biology, any of those kinds of like weird given things, but the character doesn't lend itself to it in terms of backstory. There'd be no time for him to really learn it. So his hobbies are really kind of mechanical repair stuff.
So you're
extra 10. So there we go.
What you consider a grease monkey then?
Yeah, very much so.
Okay. Well, and so let's talk about your Cthulhu, because I gave you a point.
Yeah.
And that point's going to come from we talked about this earlier, and hopefully this is the point where our other listeners stop listening. Our other players stop listening, not our other listeners. Keep listening, listeners. You have shut down a pilot a couple of times.
Yeah.
And we came up with the idea that his name is White Wolf, or German for that, which, according to the translation program I have, is White Wolf. I don't think that's right.
White as Visus or something.
Yeah. So he is part of a fighter group. You've seen them in several engagements. they've become very important to, or they had become very important to the nationalists' combat, and they. This guy keeps appearing. So you mentioned that pilots have a specific symbol for each individual pilot on the side of their planes usually.
Yeah, veterans would usually put like different kinds of nose art and cartoon characters, women, things like that. And you'd kind of, there's one of the most famous German aces had, I think, a black tulip.
Yeah,
that was like his symbol.
Yeah, and pilots know each other by those.
Yeah,
I mean, you see him in the air and you know who it is. You've shot this guy down twice. At least one time you've seen his plane explode.
Yeah.
And another time he was hanging from his parachute. This is probably later in the war.
Yeah.
He was hanging from his parachute in a tree, and in a very unsportsmanlike way, you gunned him down in his tree, which is not necessarily something pilots typically did, but it was later in the war and everything was becoming bitterer and rough. And
at that point, atrocities had been committed by both sides, and it gets dirtier. You lose kind of those.
And so that one point of Cthulhu is that you know something is not right with that guy.
Yeah.
Something has tweaked you just a little bit, and you know that life or that death is not necessarily the end.
There's something supernatural possibly in the world.
Yes.
Something off, something wrong.
And you've heard similar reports about others of that same fighter pilot group. Mm-hmm. So that's interesting to note. And that guy will come up again pretty soon, I'm sure. So, do we have anything else we need to touch on your character? We're not going to go over money because, the American government is paying you, but money will not really play a large role in this. It'll play even less of a role than it did with the last game.
Yeah. And he's not a guy who'd have much anyways. He's basically semi-refugee. And probably whatever money he did have would either filter into souping up a personal plane or anti-fascist movements.
And now I would assume you have American weapons.
Yeah.
So let's put down you have an M1.
Okay.
And then probably an M1911A 1. That you've been kind of assigned. They've been given to you to handle.
Like a Colt pistol?
Yeah. And then, you'll have access to anything else you really need, but that's probably about it. You probably have a combat knife as well, just because it's typical.
Yeah.
But that kind of covers those. Did you have any other questions? Thoughts? You'll have, technically, if you need it, you have access to a little bit of armor in the version of a helmet. But, if you're really worried about a helmet, we'll get to that.
He probably wouldn't wear one. Pilots worry a lot about vision and things like that, and so limiting that's a bad idea.
Yeah. And then, you can always pick up things like entrenching tools, because those are usable weapons. They do actually fall under close combat. So, all right. Do you feel good about the character?
Yep, it'll be interesting to play.
As good as he can be.
I'm not sure how long he'll last, but I've got a good handle on him. So
that's fair. Although there's always potential for a deeper story.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a little more prepared this time than I was last time. So let's talk about your ties to other characters.
Yes.
Which is going to be very vague since you're the first creation I've done. But I have a good feeling for what everybody else is playing. So there is a character. He's going to be a Navy. That's right. Yes, a Navy military or intelligence officer. Mm-hmm. Not sure of his character name because Scott hasn't told me that yet. We'll get there though. Scott will be playing him. You've interacted with him a couple of times. He's come home. He is the military attaché to the American ambassador to Germany. So he has been in Germany quite a bit. He thinks highly of the Germans, which kind of rubs you wrong, but he thinks highly of their culture and not so much their politics, which you can kind of understand that because there's definitely a culture there that isn't what's prevalent in the Nazi Party. But he has come back and forth a couple of times. You've probably spoken with him once or twice, asking him about the symbols you saw on the planes and the importance thereof. And he didn't have any real information for you, but he's been friendly enough, and it's clear that everyone around you has been told that you're a very valuable asset. You're an ace that is teaching the boys at home to fly, and that is not something that anyone takes lightly. You are treated well. You're probably treated more like someone of the rank of captain or colonel or whatever the Air Force version of colonel is. I think it's still just a colonel.
It would have been the same, because at that point they have the Army rankings. They're under command of the Army.
So you're given a much more of a leeway and wide berth, and you probably even have your own personal assistant within the military to keep you happy and to make sure you don't need anything. But they treat you very well, given the situation. You've also heard that there are a lot of covert ops between Germany and America. Germany doesn't want to wake America yet. It seems they've been poking a lot at England and France, but they've left America alone on the broader scale. We've heard some rumbles about things happening at home here in America that make you wonder what's going on.
Yeah.
So, otherwise, I think that'll do it. Do you have any questions about your character? Any ties?
No, that all seems to make sense to me. I think once we get to game one, kind of all introduce it, it'll all fall into place, especially.
Yeah, so there is a second sheet to your character sheet. Fill out a little bit of that, get a feel for it, see what you think.
Sure.
I know you'll come to a game with a full character and concept and everything, so I have no doubt of that.
Yep.
Hopefully this time no pajamas, right?
No pajamas. He will be wearing a beret, though.
Oh, beret, okay. All right, well, that will do us for Masks of Nyarlathotep. For this creation episode, stick around for the second one. That will be with Scott, and he will go through his character concept and his creation. And we'll get that ready and out to you just after this. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Masks of Nyarlathotep, Octung creation session. I'm here with Scott.
Octung!
Who is clearly here with us and
Clearly.
blasting out your eardrums.
You might want to move that mic.
I already
over
did
to the other side.
I moved it back already. It's too late.
Oh well, can you put a shield up or maybe some insulated foam?
I can put it on the floor.
That's fine with me.
I could sit on the floor with it.
Right?
Yeah, that's the best I can do. No. So Scott,
Go ahead.
your character.
Yes.
Talk about your character.
Yes. Let's talk about my character.
You are you are part of the Navy.
In the Navy.
Yes, much like that. You're the military.
I'm not like that.
You're military or your Navy intelligence.
Yes. Naval intelligence.
That has been assigned as an attache to Germany.
To the ambassador to Germany?
The German embassy, probably.
Okay.
Not the ambassador specifically.
Okay. Attaché to the embassy. All right.
At the start of the game, you will have been called back for various reasons. What it will be is that you will be called back and then won't be allowed to go back at all.
Right.
This will be 1938. This is when things are getting bad. People are getting recalled. So this will be probably the last time you're in Germany. But you don't necessarily know that, but the writing is kind of on the wall.
Okay.
One of the things that the fellow characters won't know when the game starts, but I'm sure you will make very evident very quickly, is that you're pro-Germany, not necessarily pro-Hitler, or pro-Nazi, but you see a lot of what he's doing that is helping the country and bringing it out of chaos.
The idea, the true distillation, if you will, of the National Socialist Party as it was put forth was the idea of overcoming the economic just black hole that they were in, the hyperinflation. They made a law at one point that said when loyal Germans have a job, you cannot fire them.
Yeah.
You had, they're constant employment, high employment rates. It was all meant to pull themselves out of the economic spiral from World War I, when they just got, put over a barrel and just, it was bad.
Well, and you probably have joined in on some of the concern that a lot of the German military had at the end of World War I, where they didn't believe that the signing of the treaty should have happened. It was so very quick, and almost like the Germans weren't losing. No one was losing. It was kind of a stalemate, and then there was a signing of the treaty. It was like, here, let's end the war. It was almost like the military, the upper military people had just given up.
Yeah, they just cut bait.
And so you probably share some of those same views. Hitler had the same view. He was active in World War One. I don't know if you're aware of his activities, but he and a lot of people like him were very, very disappointed by that. So you probably share a lot of those same concepts that, Germany is a great country and it's not where it should be, or it's a conglomeration of a bunch of great countries, depending on how you look at it, because it's Germany and it's a bunch of essentially was a bunch of kingdoms until the late 1800s.
Right.
So, so that in mind, let's talk a little bit about your character. We were talking about your character name. So where exactly in the United States would you have been from?
Well, that was going to be one of my questions. Was I born in Germany and emigrated? Were my parents? Was I born in America? Were my parents born in America? Were my grandparents born in America? Like, how far removed from?
I would say your parents probably were born in America and came to America, or were born in Germany and came to America. As part of an immigration, they were given a chance to do something. Maybe an uncle of yours had a shop or something,
Right.
and they felt like they could make their way here.
Right. Now, the road that comes to what is now the old. It's US 40. I think it's US 40. Could be 70.
That is Washington Street.
It is Washington Street.
US 40.
I think it was US 40. Yeah, it was US 40. It was called the Old German Road.
It's also called the National Highway.
The National Highway, right?
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why it was called the Old German Road is because so many Germans came through to Indiana and were in the Corridon, Conner Prairie, Zionsville, Noblesville area.
Yeah.
That's an idea.
I'm perfectly fine with that.
Okay.
I mean, there's still a very heavy German presence in Indianapolis.
Oh, yeah.
Not as heavy as other places, but still there's enough. So yeah, if you want to be from the Indianapolis area,
Sure.
that makes sense. That gives you something you know. So what kind of name? You probably want a German based name.
Right.
What were you thinking?
I don't know yet. That's one of the. I wasn't even really, and I didn't even think the German bent. I was just rolling around names in my head, and I had one at one point, and it was like a week and a half ago, and I've forgotten it. I don't know.
So your parents were probably born in Germany.
Okay.
Came here, and you were born probably right after. Either you were conceived on the boat over, or conceived shortly after, and you were probably not even born in Indiana. By the time they got here, you were already born.
Okay.
So,
first name William.
Okay. Yeah.
Or Wilhelm, and I've adopted more the William.
Yeah, probably called Wilhelm at home.
Yes.
But William by your classmates and
right
now your military personnel.
Right.
So you grew up in Indiana, went to high school here. Where did you go for college? Are you smart enough to have gone to West Point?
West Point.
Okay.
West Point graduate.
Why the Navy? Do you love the sea? Do you?
I've always had an affinity for bodies of water, for rivers, for lakes. But one of the things, and this was sort of a revelation that came to me from 12 to 16-ish, that particular, sometime in that age range, that I really, really enjoyed. I'm a man of water, but I live in a landlocked state.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got, current day, we've got, the 10th largest city in the country?
Yeah.
But the largest city in the country that is landlocked.
Yeah.
That doesn't have water access. And it was one of those where I wanted to, something within me called to that deep, dark water, Yasko, you only summon Cthulhu once. That something about the Navy was a very Yasko moment for me, and I was like, yes, I let's go that direction.
Okay, so you probably went to West Point, and enlisted in the Navy. Or not enlisted, you went to West Point and were chosen for officer candidate school and all that stuff.
Right. OCS. And...
But were quickly shunted over into intelligence because you had the mind for it.
Right.
So there's going to be cryptography on your...
Love it!
We're going to give you some cryptography. We aren't there yet, but we will be giving you cryptology. Basically...
Cryptography or cryptology or both?
I don't know which one's on the sheet.
Cryptography should
cryptography.
Be on the
So you...
Because cryptology is different enough.
Sure. So cryptography, you have a way of seeing patterns and those kinds of things. And, you know, you were attached to the embassy and you're definitely there in a advisory role and you do your paperwork and all that stuff. But sometimes things come across your desk that you have to look at and worry about and think about and decode or pass on to decode or decode enough to realize if it's actually something to decode.
Right.
You know, you're there under false pretenses. Now, in Octung, there are 3 paths. There's the military path, the civilian path, and the espionage path. We're going to put you on the military path because you have the military background. You're not full, like, CIA or something like that. Which is not that CIA exists right now. You're not full FBI, which is really the only thing we have in 1938. So, that's the concept for how to build the character, because Octung has some extra stuff we do, like the fact that you're an officer, you'll get something. The fact that you're this, you'll get something. We'll go through your rank and that kind of stuff.
And I'm curious about the espionage path, just because it's a curiosity too.
Yeah, espionage. There's a couple of things like espionage. There's a skill called espionage, which is knowing hand signals, and it's stuff that I'm going to allow you specifically to pick up later, or to have a very small level of. So basically, you would know how to do drops. You would know how to do hand signals or light signals to do certain things. What I'm going to suggest to you is that it may not be the best show. I enjoy it, but you might want to watch The Americans. Just 5-6 episodes just to get a feel for The Americans is set in 1980s. It's about Russian spies in America acting as Americans. So it will give you a chance to kind of get a feel for the deep stuff on a regular basis.
I read a lot of Robert Ludlum.
Oh, then that would also be good.
You know, Scarlatti Inheritance, the Mattery Circle, and it's just some of my favorites.
Okay, yeah. So there are a lot of requirements by Octung to become military, so we may have to flub some of your numbers afterwards.
Okay.
Like, for instance, by now everybody's already heard, but George is playing a pilot. His con score wasn't high enough. So we didn't flub that. We were just like, well, he got shot down one too many times, and that's why his con score has gotten low. He's scarred, he's a little stiff now. He's no longer a fighter pilot, but he can still fly a plane.
Right.
So you may not qualify, and unless we can make a reason for it, we may bump some numbers.
Okay.
So first thing you're going to do is pick up the D6s. You want 3 of those. And 3 times you're going to roll 3d6. Or 5 times you're going to roll 3d6. You want to add those together and write those down.
Okay. 15. I need a pencil.
Right there.
Got it. Oh, just
that.
No. Can I re-roll anything under it too?
No. 10.
That's horrid. 10. And
11.
10.
10 is average, by the way. 11.
11. Okay.
2 more times.
Okay. 12. 10.
Okay. So those go. We're going to lightly assign those. Don't write real heavy. Strength, con, POW, dex, and appearance.
Okay. Am I going to be doing a hand-to-hand character or
It's a good question.
Here's a handgun character?
It's a really good question.
Or,
it's a solid question. What do you want to do?
I'm not thinking that I want to do. I firearms I find are far more beneficial in Cthulhu than.
That's fair.
I want to shoot it from over there because I don't want to get it.
And it would make sense with your training to have done those things. So yeah, that's fine. That's perfectly fine.
Now, does any of that? What am I rolling when I'm firearming? Isn't that Dex?
Dex is your speed at which you go.
Okay.
I will tell you. I'm looking now. I want to see what is required for the Navy to join.
And I'm doing strength, con, size, dex, app.
Strength, con, power, dex, app. No, not size. Size is rolled differently.
Strength, con, power, dex, app.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
So, intelligence officer, your con has to be 10 or higher. Your education must be 11 or higher.
How do I do education?
We'll roll that in a minute.
Nice.
So go ahead and write those numbers in lightly.
I've already done so here.
Okay. And then you're going to want to roll 2d6 plus 2, or 2d6 plus 6 twice.
9 plus 6 is 15.
Yep.
And 6 plus 6 is 12.
And that is your intelligence and size.
What's average for size? What's the size?
10.
Then if I do 15, I'm a big guy.
Yeah, that could be muscles. That could be height. That could be
Right.
muscles and height. You just have really broad shoulders.
Size and what?
Intelligence. Now, I would suggest the 15 in intelligence. If you're going to be in cryptography, you're going to need to be a smart guy.
Right.
And that is different from a smart ass. You are
Of course.
All
Okay.
right, and then roll 3d6 plus 3. And this is your education.
Plus 3?
Yep, so 16.
16.
Yep, write that down. That sounds about right. Now, we're going to let you... Do you want to move any numbers around, or are you good with what you want? What you got?
You mean, can I take one away from here and add it to another one? In other words, I make a 10 becomes a 9, a 12 becomes a 13?
Yes.
Or just
You can
swapping
move
positions?
3 times, you can move up to 3 points from one stat to another stat. So, for instance, that size 12, you could drop that down to a 10 and increase your intelligence by 2. Or
What's my max?
18 in everything but education. Education goes up to 21.
What, are there benefits from having a higher education? What does education get me?
It gives you more skill points starting out from your occupation. 16 is a pretty good number, though, honestly.
What's POW do for me? I'm not going to be a magic user.
Sanity. There's only so much out of... It's also your force of will. So it'd be under duress. It'd be you sticking to what you've been through. But you're also military intelligence in time of peace. So it's not like you've been put under the hot lights and waterboarded or anything.
All right, then I want to take 2 off of my size.
Drop it to a 10.
Drop it to a 10.
Okay.
To add 2 to my education.
Okay.
I want to take 2 off my strength to drop it to a 10 and add that to my education so that my education is going to be a 20.
Okay. So probably what that means is after you went through West Point, you probably went and got a master's degree in something as well.
Right.
Or at West Point you double majored or triple majored.
Right.
Like you probably have several abbreviations behind your name.
Okay. And then I get 1 more, right?
Yeah. Honestly, I wouldn't necessarily drop anything else.
Yeah. It's a lot of 10s and 11s.
Yeah. You're smart, fast, and you know a lot, so...
Yeah.
That's good numbers, so go ahead and write those all over there.
Alrighty. 15. Strength of 10. Con of 11. Size of 10. Dex of 15. An appearance of 10. An intelligence of 15. And a power of 10. And an education of 20.
Okay. So, your idea is your intelligence times 5, which is 75.
Yep.
Your luck is your power times 5, which is 50. You're not super lucky. But you don't have to be. You're smart. And your knowledge is going to be 99, because it's your education times 5, but you can't go above 99.
Excellent.
Your sanity is going to be the same number as your luck, which is 50.
Hey.
So write that there, and then circle it over here in the box.
Oh, I may want to...
50.
What's your education is... your knowledge is your education times 5?
Yeah. Even at an 18...
That would be... If I took that down to an 18 and took those 2 points instead in sanity...
It puts you at a 60 sanity, which that's substantially. That 10 points is life or death.
You know what? I'm going to go with 50. I'm all right with that.
All right.
So sanity at 50. Circle 50. There we are.
All right. So for your hit points, you're going to take your con plus your size, divide by 2.
Okay.
So that's 21 divided by 2 is 10.
Is 10.5 rounded
down.
10.
And then add 5 to that.
So 15 is for my
hit points.
Oh, 15. Oh, 15.
Now, normally it would be 10, like I've sold everyone else for playing a little pulpy in this. So I've given 5 extra hit points, so you can probably take an extra shot from a pistol.
Ow.
Your magic points are going to be equal to your power. So 10.
10.
That's all your derive. Oh, and your Cthulhu is going to be 99 minus 0, which is 99. Or no, I'm sorry, that's your damage bonus. Hold on.
Yes, my damage bonus is 99. I think
your damage bonus is probably a 0.
He's added to 99.
Strength and size puts you at 20. That's a plus 0.
Okay.
This is your 99 minus Cthulhu. This is 99. There you go.
There we go.
Okay. You are American. That's your nationality.
William Smith
is a very English name. I would like to know your
Schmidt
that you changed to Smith.
Yes.
Did your family change it or did you?
I believe I did.
Why?
My thought. Okay, then what's the time for? How old am I? What's
minimum is 26 years.
Minimum is 26 years. So in 38, that would be okay. So then I was born in. What we call that 26. 1902.
1912.
1912.
Yep.
Would be 26. I was thinking about calling it 28, so it'd be 1910 would be when I was born.
Maybe and it may be that your parents changed their name during World War One, because even though Germans weren't treated like the Japanese will be in World War II, they were not well treated in World War One.
So then it would be Wilhelm Schmidt.
Yes.
Or Schultz. I like Schultz.
Schultz.
Okay.
And Schultz has a softer sound to it too. Now, this sounds really ridiculous.
I know nothing.
Are you German, or are you Austrian German? Are you Czech German?
Well, that's funny. They did a. Did you see the YouTube gig where they went out on in Venice Beach, and they said, "Name 3 famous Germans," and this was this group from Germany that came out to this poll, and they were like, Hitler and I don't know. And they asked they've got 14 shots of folks going Hitler and Hitler and I don't know Hitler, and at the end he goes, Hitler was Austrian.
It's true.
He
was also Germanic.
Yes. Oh, of course. Yes, but it was very funny because he was like, he was from Austria.
Yeah.
It was just, and he yells at, whoa, okay, all right. It was very funny. I would say German,
okay,
Germanic German.
That's fine.
I could find a more
well. And the reason for that question is the Austrian-Hungarian Empire was quote unquote German and sat over a very large area that includes a lot of countries.
Yes,
a lot. So,
is this like, am I pro Habsburg leaning? Is that
no? I'm saying, but those were all quote unquote Germans,
right?
So your family would have been part of that.
Yeah, Germanica is yeah.
So I wanted to just make sure that we were on the same page.
Am I going to need to know who my ancestors were? And
nope,
if they
I
were
just wanted you to get a feel for that. So
you don't want me to. You don't want me to have a tie-in with like the Earl of Sandwich or anything like that.
No, I'm good. Last time that went okay, I guess.
Well, I thought it was funny that it was like 2 characters later when they went, "Oh, is he the Earl of Sandwich?" I was like, "You didn't even get that while I was alive. You people suck."
All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to make some rolls.
Uh-oh.
Randomly, because that's what Octung has you do.
Okay.
And will be where we flub things. So you're going to roll percentage. You want the lowest number possible, but this will be off of your constitution. Your constitution is an 11.
Is an 11.
If you can get an 11 or less, that would be awesome.
Why?
Because it's really good for you. Go ahead.
Are you serious?
Uh-huh. So
46.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
So your con is 11. So that means that's times 5.
For what?
Con times 5 is 55, so you rolled under a 55.
Yes.
So that means that you roll a d2. So roll a d6 divided by 3.
All right. What am I rolling for?
You'll see. That you gain 1 extra con.
Okay, what if I'd have rolled under an 11?
Top of the class, you sail through the training course, even winning the admiration of the instructors, so on and so forth. This basically, if you have a low con, gives you higher con. Good news, though, that means your hit points go up by 1.
Oh, yeah.
So they went from a 15 to a 16.
Excellent.
So essentially, you were in relatively or evidently poor shape, but the military whipped you into shape, and that gave you a little bit more con. This is your basic training.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So you are in the Navy. So I want you to roll a d6.
Okay, what am I rolling for now?
You're going to be adding numbers to skills that you don't yet have.
Okay.
But we're going to do this to see where you have numbers, so maybe you want to go a little farther. So add 2 to your damage control. It's all alphabetical. Damage control is putting out fires and handling damage on boats. So it's probably important. I'll roll another d6. Add this to your first aid.
3.
Again. This one goes for your navigation C.
4.
So navigation, and we'll have a bunch of lines next to it. Nope, it won't. It'll just be navigate. They're right there. You just pat there.
Navigate.
But that's specifically the C.
Okay.
Roll a d6 and add it to your pilot boat. You're really good at boats.
I'm really good at boats. Okay.
Roll a d6 and add it to your rifle.
Nice.
Plus 5. And then roll a d6 and add it to your tactics. Man, you're pretty good at the tactics.
Plus 6. Which is better than the 1% you started with.
Is your education an 11? Or, I'm sorry, is your intelligence an 11?
It's a 15.
Your education's 12 or higher?
It's a 20.
Roll 2d6.
What am I rolling for?
Command.
Command.
This is because you're an officer.
12.
Wow. Go ahead and put that in command.
Yes.
Roll a d6 and put it in credit rating.
5.
Roll a d6 and put it in military doctrine.
5.
Roll a d6 and put it in tactics.
4.
I'll roll a d6 and put it in handgun.
5. Rifle, grenade, shotgun, submachine gun, torpedo. Torpedo? Mainly. Oh, it's up the top. Oh, there's a lot more weapon choices here.
Yes, there are.
Okay.
Okay. So let's talk about your rank. I'm thinking something like Lieutenant Commander, Commander. Commander? Okay.
Commodore.
You're not a Commodore.
Fleet Admiral.
No.
Okay, just a plain Admiral.
How about Commodore? Or Commander? God bless.
I will take Commodore. You said it. Commander works for me.
Mark Commander... I don't know, somewhere on there. Just know that you're a commander.
I'll put it at the end of my occupation.
Okay. We will skip the decorations table because it doesn't really matter. Or no, I'm sorry. We're going to skip
Christmas decorations.
We're going to skip the promotion table. Roll percentage, and you want to roll low. This is your power, much like your constitution earlier. This will be power.
89.
There we go.
13.
So that's your power is 10. Times 2 is 20, so you rolled under your 20. You have the Distinguished Service Cross.
Ooh, really?
Yeah. And we can talk about quite what that means later. I don't know quite what you would get a Distinguished Service Cross for, but you have it. All right. Military training. You are going to be in military intelligence. So your con is higher than 10? 10 or higher. Your education is 11 or higher. And you've gone through basic training.
Correct.
Now, there are 3 specializations. I-Corps Operative, Field Security, or Military Attache. Which one do you think fits you best?
Probably Military Attache.
Fair enough. You get to mark the following. Anthropology. What am I like mark the box mark? No, don't mark the box. These are the ones that you're going to put your education skills into.
Okay, so anthropology.
Yep. Espionage. Hey, remember that espionage you're going to get?
Yeah, I remember that.
fast talk, handgun, it'll be over here.
Right.
Military doctrine, other languages,
Okay.
persuade.
Okay.
Oh, cryptography.
Cryptography.
Oh, and command.
Command.
Yeah.
Right.
You also will automatically gain one language skill at education times 4, but that would be for a quote-unquote enemy. So let's go with German on that one. So your education times 4 is 80, so you speak really freaking good German. So under other languages, put German. Under own language, which should be here, it's English, and you have a 99 in that.
Is it equal to my knowledge?
It's equal to your knowledge times... Yes, yeah, it's equal to your education times 5.
Right.
But you can never have more than 99. So you're going to take your education times 20, which is 400. So write 400 down over here.
Sweet.
You have 400 points to spend on those skills you've just marked.
Sweet. Now, on those skills that I just marked, now what about others' skills? Are we gonna go through a second wave of this where I get...
Yes, you'll get education times 10. So you'll get another 150 points.
Okay. Alrighty, so I need to spend 400 in these. Now, tell me again about the rule of 80 or 90 or whatever the...
At 90, when you gain 90% or more, by upping a skill, you gain 2d6 back on it. You gain a substantial amount back on sanity.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure the exact dice you roll.
Right, but there's a perk, there's a benny for doing that. So I don't necessarily want to make everything a 95 because then I lose that potential bump in game.
I would highly suggest not taking anything above 80 because it wouldn't necessarily make sense. 80 is like
Uber.
Indiana Jones has an 80 with a whip.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
I mean that you don't need to go above 80. Only a fourth of the time or a fifth of the time will you actually fail.
Right.
And that's very unlikely.
Right. So, what is the command skill?
It's commanding NPCs to do as you need. So, let's say you came upon a group of, army grunts. Even though they're army and you're navy, you have you have military rank, and you say, you four go bunk down that thing, and you four go scout this out, and you four go do this. They're going to do better because you have a command presence.
Right. Okay.
And it's assumed at some point during your military training you were given command of something.
Right.
Or someone, and you probably would have learned it then.
Not to be this way, but will I or do I, and I know I'm probably asking too much, care about anthropology?
It's the study of people and history of people that might be important to your character.
Yeah, all right. I would think history would be more than, but that's all right. Then let's do this. We're gonna spend 74.
Okay.
To take my cryptography to a 75.
Okay.
Which I think is pretty decent.
Oh yeah. That's that. You're probably one of the military's top cryptographers.
Okay, and from there, let me bust out the calculator. 400 minus 74 is 326. And again, it's anthropology command. Minus 17. I'm going to spend 63 to take my command to an 80.
Okay. You pushed your lead way out.
Yeah. Oh, geez, Louise Pete. Okay, so that's minus 63. Takes me down to 263. What else can I throw this into? Cryptography's done. Command's done. Fast talk, espionage.
Espionage is going to be pretty important.
Then I'm going to spend 80 points in espionage to take me to an 81.
Okay.
I will then spend 60 to take my persuade to a 75.
Okay.
Which takes me to 123.
You have
Other language, military doctrine. What does that let me do?
let me check. Because I don't remember. Here it is. Give me a second. Military doctrine represents a military character's knowledge of armed forces, including ranks and insignias, procedures and protocols, and concepts such as military strategy and varying schools of warfare. Characters that can use this knowledge to know a specific piece of information relating to a character or to a military matters, be that correct chain of command to approach the quartermaster general, or the standard pattern of attack for infantry assaulting reinforced embankments. Or emplacements, whatever.
Okay. Now, would military doctrine allow me to identify things about other military units?
Yes.
In other words, we're in the bushes and we look out and there's, look, it's Germans. Oh, well, that guy's a lieutenant and this guy's and they're SS and
the other option is, let's say you were pretending to be German officers. You had the German officer.
And I don't put my 3 middle fingers up. Right.
Well, I don't know about that one.
Right.
That one would fall under your German language.
Right.
But a guy comes up and starts ordering you around. You'd be able to look at his
uniform and immediately determine
and realize if he's above you, below you, same rank as you, if you should follow what he does, how you should treat him, how that all would work.
Right.
He may be SS, but technically he's not Army.
Right.
You would know that doesn't matter because he's SS. You do as he says.
Right. Okay, then I'm going to spend 70 in my military doctrine to give me an 80.
Okay. Now, I would suggest maybe considering picking up another language if you wanted to. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've got much else that you are trained in.
Handgun
and fast talk.
Handgun and fast talk.
Your call.
Because I'm going to have another 150 points.
This is true.
And that 150 I can put anywhere, correct?
Yes.
But you did not say I can add it to rifle.
That's correct. Just handgun.
Okay. If I get over a certain level, does it up my number of attacks, or is that strictly
yes,
on
that's
the
75?
75? Okay.
It also does depend on the gun.
Right.
Some guns aren't going to fire more than one. If you have a Derringer, doesn't matter.
Right. Then I'm going to spend 50 on handgun to take me to 75.
Okay. That'll leave you 3
and
points.
I've got 3 points, which I am going to put into my espionage. Make that an 84.
Okay. All right. So before we get into your 150 points you're about to spend, I would suggest that you spend some in swim. So you have 150 points that you can spend as you see fit.
Okay.
So
150.
What's your swim at currently? Like a
25.
I would get up to a 50 at least.
Oh, I was going to just throw 50 points into it.
No, yeah.
And make it a 75.
Okay.
So I'm at 100.
Okay. So you have 100 points. Where are you going to put it? Now, I will tell you, rifle doesn't typically have more than one shot.
Right.
Per round.
Right.
So, couple other places to consider putting it would be like close combat. Close combat is you aren't firing a rifle, but you're going to use it in hand-to-hand combat because...
Is that fist?
No,
is
it's
that...
under close combat.
Oh, okay. What's the difference between close combat and fist, then?
Fist's punching. Close combat is military training using one of several things: rifle butt, bayonet, entrenching tool, things that are around you. You are
chairs.
Yeah, you've been taught how to fight tooth and nail in close hand-to-hand ways.
Right. Okay.
So knife, maybe I wouldn't necessarily let you do it, but if you had an entrenching tool, go for it.
Right. Now, is a trench knife an entrenching tool?
No. Okay. But I believe the entrenching tool has the same stats.
Oh, okay.
So, except it doesn't impale.
Why is the Navy guy who's carrying around a foxhole shovel? Shut up! All All right. Well, then let's do this.
Because the commander said to, and we don't question the commander.
Does close combat... Yeah, the Commodore. Does close combat give me a bonus in hand-to-hand or fist? No. I mean, is there any sort of... It's just, I would use that instead of...
Yes.
So now it's the two of us in the middle of a football field, or the two of us in a back alley in a tightly cramped storage space. Or it's the same close combat, because melee is melee, and it's all close, right?
Yeah. But this gives you a bunch of things you can use for it. Like,
Okay.
I've got a bayonet, so, like, me and 50 other guys are charging, and I'm going to use my bayonet.
Okay.
Or, I've got an entrenching tool, and I've been knocked down in the trenches, and this guy's coming up over top of me, so I'll use that.
Right, okay.
Or, I've been tied to this chair, I broke it, I've got my hands tied to these sticks, I'm going to use those, or these posts, I'm going to use those posts to beat this guy.
Right. Okay.
So, now, on that last one, you probably take negatives.
Right.
But
understandable.
Still.
Then I'll throw 50 into there,
Okay.
which leaves me 50.
And then...
Other language, what are your other language suggestions?
French. If you're in Germany, you have, like... If you're in Europe, you have, like, 4 languages to choose from that are really important. Italian, French, English, and German. Because if the people you're talking to don't speak one of those, they're not in World War II.
Right, or they're going to speak one of the others.
Yeah. Or Russian.
25 or 50?
I put 25. That way it gives you another 25 to put maybe into fast talk or first aid. I mean, you've got a bonus to first aid. You might as well pick it up and see if you can get it up there.
Yeah, what do I have bonuses to here?
You got it to navigate.
First aid, navigate,
You had it to
damage
command,
control.
You already used that one.
Okay, then let's do it this way.
You can also put it in credit rating.
Right.
But credit rating is going to be a non-military thing.
Right.
So,
Okay. Well, then let's, before we see how we're going to do this here, are we going to be, okay, honestly, story-wise, are we going to be much on boats? Am I going to need to navigate at sea? And does large lakes like the Baltic or the Red Sea, does that count as
it does count
sea?
as sea.
Okay, like Lake Michigan. Is that at sea?
To answer your... yeah, because you wouldn't be able to see land the whole time.
Right. Okay.
If you can't see land, it's a sea. All right. And that's me, Matt, having been on like 2 boats in my entire life.
Okay, all right. Just checking.
I will tell you this. Yes, there may be military... there may be situations where you're going to be on a freaking boat.
Okay.
I'm not guaranteeing that, but if you have it, I'm more likely to put you in a situation that makes sense for that. I'm not going to put everybody with no pilot boat on a boat and tell them to go off on a mission. If you have pilot boat, that means that the next mission has the potential for that.
Okay. All right, then let's see here. First aid is a +3. Credit rating's a +5. I'm trying to see where I can maximize myself. Navigate at sea is a +4. Mm-hmm. Boat is a +6. Pilot boat is a +6. And those are all my, other than handgun, which I've already done. Tactics. How did I miss tactics?
That's a +10. That one might be the thing you want to do.
Yeah. So let's read me what tactics does.
Sure. Tactics skill allows a character to understand the ebb and flow of battle and to choose his actions accordingly. The use of tactics affects a wide variety of skills, including the choice of which weapon to use and where the character positions himself on the battlefield. Attempts to use such skills without first using tactics are automatically difficult, which we'll talk about that. Predominantly working at an individual level, tactics can only affect larger groups of troopers when combined with the command skill, which you happen to have.
Nice. Okay.
So you're going to spend 30 there?
No, I'm going to spend 20 in French.
Okay.
I'm going to spend 20 in tactics for a 31.
Okay.
Which leaves me 10. I am going to put... I'm going to be up over that, so I'm going to spend another 5 in tactics to be at 36. No, so I've got 5 left, huh?
Yep. You can always put it in rifle and put your rifle to 35.
No, I don't want to do that. I'm not a rifle guy. I'm going to put...
you also have a bonus to damage control. That's
Yeah,
putting out fires on boats.
Right. I'm going to put 2 in navigate for a 16. I'm going to put 3 in pilot boat, which is a 10. And that should be my 150.
All right, now we're going to do a couple other random
Now I need to mark the ones that I haven't, correct?
Yeah,
like
don't do anything yet.
Oh, shouldn't. All right, I won't write them
Hold on
down.
just a second. So you have also gone through combat swimmer training.
Why didn't you tell me that before I put so many points in swim, you jerk?
Because without swim, you drown.
Oh, in the combat training?
Yeah, so this was a 5-week-long training session that you went through probably when you were a lieutenant or early on. But you have gone through it, so you'll get the skills. The first thing you need to do is succeed at a swim check.
Oh, okay.
And a con check. Con times 5. So for you, that's a 60.
Okay. So let's do the swim check. 19.
Okay.
Under 75.
Yep.
And the con.
Ooh, yeah, made it.
Made it. Woo! Okay.
Okay, so now, roll 2d6.
4.
You're going to add these to close combat.
Really? Oh, this is underwater or just close combat in
Close
general?
combat in general.
7.
8.
8. All right, we'll do that. To close combat?
Yep.
Okay. 8 is 83.
Yep. You're going to get some sanity back from beating people up really well.
Yay!
Roll 4d6.
For
Demolitions.
Really? Oh, Bud's training.
Yeah. Oh.
Right on!
19.
Yes, sir.
Well, that'll, now you have some demolitions in the group.
Demolitions. Really? You sure it's demolitions?
Yeah.
Okay, Cthulhu, damage control, disguise, diving, drive.
It's under combat over here.
It's under combat.
Demolitions.
Okay, 19 plus 1, that's a 20 in demolitions.
Yeah, there you go.
Nice.
You're going to roll 4d6.
4.
Diving.
6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Yep.
Is that over here in a combat?
No.
Okay.
And then you're going to roll 5d6.
Holy cripes. 4.
Pilot boat.
Pilot boat. Woohoo! I'm re-rolling that one. Just because
No,
No,
you
I'm
only
not.
get one. 15.
Alright, 15 on my pilot boat. Okay.
And then 5d6.
On.
Mini sub. Pilot mini
what?
sub.
That is so awesome!
Yeah.
Can I have a pocket mini sub? No. Alright, we're going.
No.
I'm rolling another one. There we go.
21.
Sure it is. Pilot mini sub?
Yeah.
Where do I get...
Sorry, that's a 22. So 23 total.
Where do I get a mini sub?
That
That
swim.
is so awesome.
4d6 for swim.
To add to swim?
Yeah.
I want to add to swim. Alright. Well, I'm
Take
glad...
that.
I'm glad I didn't want to add to... Yeah.
84. No, that's good, because now you
No,
only
it's
need to
perfect.
raise
Right.
it by 6, and then you get your...
Well, that makes up for those other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
So, that's the basics of character creation.
All right.
We got you set. You are a military attaché, so put that in our occupation.
Okay. Sex is male. Age is... Did you say 26 or 28?
You said 28.
I said 28. I did, didn't I? Mm-hmm. Okay.
So there are... That's
If I had artillery skill, could I get artillery whenever I wanted, or...
No.
Okay. All right.
that's
never
if
mind.
if you're standing at the artillery, this is your skill you used.
Oh, okay. I got it.
So that's the basics of your character. You will have been... You've probably spent the last 3-4 years in Germany at the embassy, and you're being called back for various reasons. The ambassador was called back, and you were brought back with him, probably as a bit of a quote-unquote shore leave. Give you time to see the family, but while you're back, you're also going to be called upon to look into something. What you're going to be told, and I'm kind of doing this to bring everybody a little bit in, because I don't want to sit down at the first game and then have to rehash all this. You are being pulled in because you know the German customs, you know German people. There are elements within the German... Oh, we forgot to discuss the most important aspect of your character.
The fact that he's German? No.
You're a member of the Masonic, or the Masons,
I am a member of the Masons.
which has been shut down by Hitler in Germany. So you have been actually holding meetings at the embassy. There are a couple of members of the embassy are also Masons, but you have some high-ranking German socialites that stop by
Okay.
to have tea. That's what they tell everyone.
Right.
You don't have quite what you need to make it official, but it's good to be around brothers.
Absolutely.
So, and you as a Mason will bring a little bit of that to the game.
Okay.
So, you're being brought in because you know all these things. You know the Germans and all that. There are some occult groups that are popping up in Germany that people are concerned about, and you've heard of one called the Nachtwolf.
The Night Wolf?
Yes. And the man that you're being called in to consult on is a member of the Nachtwolf. And you've heard of them, you've kind of just, whatever. They're part of, but not part of the SS.
Okay.
It's something Hitler is very interested in, and he's let go because he wants to see where they can go. But they claim to be using magic and ancient technologies to build better super soldiers.
Okay. Now, I'm going to ask the question. There are. How do you want me to refer to this? Because what I will be asking is, in Lodge, do I have any brothers who are Nachtwolf?
No.
Understandable.
Yes.
But I may at some point, and I would like to disguise this. Mm-hmm. How would I ask? So in Lodge, is there anybody who, without going in Lodge to let the other players know that I'm a Mason? Because
would I know anyone who?
All right. Well, how do I then? Okay.
In my social circles, is there anyone?
Okay. Because, or in my familial relations, or okay.
Yeah. Something.
Make it something other than. So other than the blank, do I know anyone?
Yeah.
Because one of the big tenets, and it would be especially more so in Germany of that time, would be in America, Masons are allowed to wear Masonic jewelry. I have a Masonic ring. We're allowed to wear outward signs of our Masonic membership to the fraternity. Mm-hmm. In Europe, they are not. They are discouraged. You wouldn't know if a guy was a Mason standing next to you if you searched him from head to toe. Mm-hmm. They're not allowed. Mm-hmm. And I would imagine if Hitler is trying to shut down or succeeding in shutting down Masonic lodges, that the idea of, hey, he's a brother. I mean, there's the super secret handshake, which is yes. And that's one of the reasons for the super secret handshake. But my question would be, like, it would be important to know who a brother is from the standpoint of, well, if I could get a hookup as a brother, it's infinitely superior than just, well, I knew Bob from the water cooler.
If the Masonic order is the FBI, the Thule Society, which is what the Nachtwolf came from,
okay,
is organized crime at its worst. Like, imagine them.
Oh, like, so we're on other sides. We're on opposite sides of the fence. We're not.
As I understand Masonic tenets, it's to better people and the world and just be better people.
Absolutely,
and support each other.
Yes,
the Nachtwolf is all about quote unquote bettering, but through underhanded deals. And the Thule Society fully believes in magic. And while I'm sure that the Masons have beliefs on that, have some sort of view on that sort of thing, they're not like, no, seriously, we can do it. Let me show you. Like, allow me to summon this demon for you. No, I'm not joking.
Right.
The Thule Society sincerely believes that, and the Nachtwolf have gone so far as to say, it exists, and here's how it works. And now we're going to apply it to technology. So the Nachtwolf, if you imagine Hydra from Captain America, that's Nachtwolf. They're using mystical things to make technology.
Okay. So then let me ask you this.
Including werewolves.
Nice.
This is,
of course.
No, I mean, this is an actual... You've heard this. Like, they can make werewolves. And you're like, yeah, sure. Okay.
Right. Sure.
And Hitler's going to attack England.
Really? Okay. Then let me ask this question, and this is not a loaded question.
Sure.
Could I expect from, given my social circles, could I expect any of the Nachtwolf to give you a square deal? Or are these people you would expect to backstab you for their own purposes whenever
They might give you a square deal if it meant that they got something if it was along their plans.
But they don't have a code. They don't have they're not...
It's power for power's sake.
Okay, all right, okay.
Now, going back to what you said about the Masons in Germany, the secret handshake, discouraged. The Masons in Germany don't do that anymore.
Really?
Because it's visibly seen. I have stood next to you while you've done it and gone, oh, I've seen... I don't know what the gestures are for it, but it's different from a normal handshake.
Right.
If there's SS out there, they're going to catch you. They will murder you.
Okay.
They will pull you in, do everything they can to get you to rat your brothers.
Right.
And then kill you.
Right. Okay.
So the super secret handshake, Hitler was like, no more, and everybody went, okay. Like, nothing we can do here, because it's very clear by the time he declared that he had taken out so many political opponents, he wasn't messing around.
Right.
So the Masonic order in Germany essentially disappeared overnight.
Okay.
Now it still meets probably somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
But you don't question that. You don't want to know. You just knew a couple of guys that you had already met that know maybe some other people that they brought along eventually. Right. And you might have 20 people at any one time.
Okay.
At most.
Okay.
And this is, you're stationed in Berlin, where there's probably 9,000 Masons.
Right.
Originally.
Right.
But a lot of them just don't come around anymore.
Sure.
So you're in America, you know all these things, you've been called in because of the Nachtwolf, but because the gentleman that you're after is a fugitive. He was arrested on U.S. soil doing shady things. There was no formal charges made, but he broke out of custody and fled. In fleeing, he has stolen books from Miskatonic University, from the rare section of the library.
Okay.
He's taken 12 books. You don't know what any of them are, but that doesn't sound good.
Right.
If it's the Nachtwolf...
So this guy is suspected or known to be a Nachtwolf.
He's very suspected. It's rumored that he was a pilot during the Spanish Civil War.
Okay.
For Germany.
So what I just heard is you're setting me up already to be on opposite ends of the table and suspicious and possibly openly hostile towards George's character.
No, he was on the Spanish Civil War side of the fascists. Because remember, during the Spanish Civil War, the fascists went, hey, Germany, we could use some help. And they sent all of their pilots over to combat train.
Oh, okay. Because what I heard was, George's character has stolen 12, and I'm like, no.
George is fully a Spanish.
Oh, okay. All right.
A Spaniard. He was fighting for the revolutionaries, or whatever they were.
Right, okay.
So you know that whatever he's stolen is for Nachtwolf. You also know that whatever he's stolen is not the best for Germany. Even if you disagree with Hitler, and you do in some ways you see what he's doing as a benefit. He may be a little aggressive, but it's a benefit. This isn't good for Germany. It could incite the United States to get involved in war. Germany's been very
Nobody
aggressive.
wants that.
Nobody wants that. It could incite because if the U.S. goes, France and Britain go, and maybe even Russia, and who knows, and Italy's been a little down on some of the stuff Hitler's been doing lately. So,
right.
I mean, this could just go bad for Germany.
Right. Let's not do this.
So you want to catch him, not necessarily keep him from being caught. You want to catch him and minimize any damage he would do.
Right. So am I openly, at this point, going to be... Would I have Nachtwolf in my sights just from the standpoint of this just can't be good for Germany? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not here because I'm against Nachtwolf or I want Germany to fall. No. This is going to be a blemish or a blight if it comes to light, and we don't need that.
The Thule Society is a lot of high thinkers. They're not terrible, but they're not like the worst thing that's ever happened in Germany. Other than they have some very heavy Aryan beliefs, and you don't necessarily share those either.
Right.
But whatever. But the Nachtwolf is like the Thule Society dialed up to like 12.
Nice.
They went past 11.
Right. Right.
So I mean, they're pretty rough, and they're power for power's sake. And if they do what they say they can do, if Germany goes to war, everybody else is in trouble. Doesn't matter if England, France, United States, Italy, and Russia all team up. this could go very badly. So, and remember, this game will be taking place after Austria joined Germany.
Okay.
So there's some concept there that you may or may not have you may have a problem with that, you may not.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind as well.
It's still, again, the German people need to be on their feet, and that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yep.
look, I have relatives. We
Yeah.
it's, where do you think the beer's from? Come on now.
Yeah.
That can't be all bad.
So that's the basics of your character. And that'll do us tonight for Masks of Nyarlathotep Octung Creation. We'll talk to you guys real soon.
And that will do it for us tonight on the Nerds Domain Presents Masks of Nyarlathotep. Remember, you can email us at nerdsdomain@gmail.com or find us on facebook.com/nerdsdomain, on Twitter @nerdsdomain, or over at our site nerdsdom.com. Be sure to sign up for the newsletter while you're there. You can head over to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. We want to thank Josh Schott for our music. Don't forget, you can support us at patreon.com/nerdsdomain. And check out our shirts at slashloot.com.